Welcome back. We are talking with a Spanish parliamentarian by the name of Victor Gonzalez. He is a leader in his country's parliament on matters involving foreign affairs of his country, which of course include not just NATO and Europe more generally, but also the wider world. And his particular passion, which I've been impressed by in a meeting I had with him in Washington recently, is for freedom everywhere, and in particular in Spanish speaking countries like those of Latin America, in which it is very much under assault. And we're talking with him about this in the context of the Summit of the Americas that is taking place right now in the United States in Los Angeles. And uh, Victor, you just touched on a subject that I wanted to make sure we addressed as a sort of segue into the larger challenge posed to us in all of these regards by um, the Forum of Sao Paulo, namely the role that communist China is playing in Latin America at the moment through this sort of communist international, if I think of it as, and more broadly.
What's true is China nowadays is the world leading investment power in the region. It's the first investor in Peru, and we could keep in Salvador, and we could keep counting countries one after the other with few exceptions. It's the same with Argentina, Brazil, and so on. So what the question we need to make ourselves is, do we want those nations to vote internationally in all these supranational organizations what China decides to? Do we believe China is going to be a freedom fighter? Do we believe China is going to fight for human rights? Because Venezuela, but we will go to Ecuador, all these nations own the Chinese billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. And China is investing in those nations. While, for example, the US has basically no presence in Peru. 80 kilometers away from the city of Callao, the China National Construction Company, if I remember correctly, is building the biggest port in the Pacific coast of South America for a Chinese mining company, where air carriers will be ships the size of oil carriers could be harboring there.
Yeah.
It's
aircraft carriers you're talking about.
Yeah, aircraft carriers.
Right.
I'm not saying is that on the national design, but that's how big that construction going on is.
And I don't think there's any doubt that the Chinese will try to do that if they can, and they seem to be actually controlling that port under construction right now, of course, which is again a worrying sign that it's not just they're sort of in this built out of their Belt and Road Initiative, as they call it, and all the infrastructure that goes along with it, but there really is a military dimension to it. At the very least, there's dual use infrastructure being put into place. So come back to the Forum of Sao Paulo and the role that it is playing in trying to essentially finish off the last democratic, pro-Western, pro-US governments in the hemisphere. Victor Gonzalez.
Yeah. They are doing a marvelous work. Fidel Castro was really worried when the Soviet republics fell, and they start building this, and they have been quite successful. And now they are controlling the majority of the South American nations, and that's a treat for all of us, because when they vote in United Nations or in the World Trade Organization, you know what they're going to vote. They're going to vote against freedom, and our duty is to avoid this expanding. But, for example, how well coordinated they are. Do you know that the Black Lives Matter is listed in one of the supporting organizations of the Foro de Sao Paulo? Did you know that Sanders is among the founding members of the Foro, was a founding member of the Foro de Sao Paulo?
But of course,
how well
Senator Bernie Sanders, a communist in the United States Senate.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is this is something that maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we could not think about it, is that the communist now is in our societies. It's in the United States, spread in the society, in the politics, in the media, everywhere.
So right.
And they have lots of money from the Chinese and the extreme Islamic nations, which are funding these people, which is called my attention that communists and Islamic people are gathering, and Iranians especially, are gathering together with something philosophically speaking is a contradiction, but it's happening.
They have a very different end state in mind, I think it's fair to say, but they are working together to get rid of us.
They have a common goal, which is Western world. It's the one they want to destroy.
Take it down, exactly. You know? So let me just ask you, Victor Gonzalez, we're talking again in the midst of this Latin American, Summit of the Americas, it's called, conclave in Los Angeles. A number of nations have boycotted it over their objections to the fact that certain communist nations, Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, were not invited. The Mexican government, for example, at the presidential level, at least, is not coming, and I think others, Honduras and Guatemala, perhaps for other reasons, Bolivia. What should the agenda for the United States be at this summit, and is that what we're about?
But I think it's common sense. We have been educated in respect and in freedom and fight evil. And I think the regime of Cuba, no one can accept is not evil. It's evil, and we have seen what happens. And actually, it's the largest racist government in the world. 7% of the population is black people, and they represent about 60% of people being in prison in Cuba. So I don't know. The calling question, it was Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, all these regimes that don't accept democracy, that are regimes, that are extreme regimes that are bringing hunger and death to their nations.
Poverty.
We should be fighting them in all the levels. Amen. Diplomatically speaking, economically speaking, and so on.
Amen. So Victor, we have to leave it at that for the moment. I hope that we can get you back on camera at some point soon, if we can, to talk through all of this. Thank you for your insights, as well as the leadership you're exhibiting there in Spain and in our hemisphere as well. Keep it up and come back to us soon, if you would. I hope the rest of you will do the same again tomorrow, same time, same station. Until then, help us protect the country we love, and then go forth and multiply.